For those of you with a 4.3 liter Chevy Vortec engine, there's that bolt that holds in your coolant on the engine block on the driver's side. It's just above that oil cooler adapter fitting. Mine was in there pretty tight. I put a breaker bar on it and it still didn't want to budge, and I didn't push it because I didn't want to shear anything off. So what I did is I shot it with a little PB blaster, let it sit for a couple minutes, and then it backed out a lot easier. You can just yank the plug right out if you want, but it's going to gush right out of there, so I'm just letting mine drip out for a little while so I don't make as much a mess, because I rent and I'm trying not to create a mess that the landlord will get upset with. So anyway, this is Walter. I hope this helps anybody out. This is on a Chevy Astro van, a 1998, and again, it's a 4.3 liter Chevy Vortec V6 engine. This is the coolant drain plug on the driver's side. Okay, this is Walter again. Same 1998 Chevy Astro van, 4.3 liter Vortec Chevy engine, the V6. This is the passenger side drain plug, and right now we're looking at the starter. Easiest way to get it is to pull that bolt and that bolt on your starter and just yank that bad boy out of there. Once you get it out of there, you'll see this bolt right up here behind the end of the starter, and right there is the bolt. That's what you need to get to. That cable right there, that silver wrapped one on my Astro van, is pretty thick and heavy, so it's kind of hard to get out of the way. You really don't have good access to get up into there because the starter is kind of in the way in these cables. So best way to get to that, drop your starter and then you can get right to it. So, and again, I'd shoot it with a little PB blaster, let it sit for a few minutes, and you'll find those plugs will come out way easier. And that's the drain coolant plug for the antifreeze on the engine block. This is the passenger side. Okay, so I pulled the starter. It's hanging here by the wires, and now you can see that drain plug right there. Pretty easy to get to now. Now you can let this thing hang and wire it up out of the way, kind of, but it's still going to be in the way, and you're probably going to drip a lot of fluid onto the thing, which I don't really want to do. Drip all that radiator fluid on my starter, so I'm going to pull this off. There's a couple of nuts on here. I don't have a metric small enough to fit this one, but it's a 5/16 little wrench on this little nut. And you got to take that off because it goes to this wire bundle, so 5/16. And then this bigger nut here that holds the bigger cable on is a 13 millimeter. So there you go, you take that thing off and then work this nut off, and then you can pull these cables off and pull the starter off completely, and then you can tuck the wires back up out of here out of the way real easily, get that antifreeze drain plug out of that block, and drain from both sides. So there you go. Hope that helps people. Okay, so here's another little tip on this Chevy Astro van. A lot of times when I remove parts, if possible, I'll stick the bolt back in a hole if it's not going to be in the way, or put the nut back on, so that way I don't lose it. Like with the starter that I just took off, I'm going to clean this thing all up, and these are the two nuts that I took off. I'm just going to thread them right back on here a ways, and that way there's no way I'm going to lose them or misplace them or set them down somewhere and accidentally kick them. So that's a little trick that I do. And another thing is that I'll do, pardon me flip-flopping all around here, but just to give you an idea, this is the PB blaster I use to loosen up those drain plugs or any nuts or bolts that are too tight. And then I just kind of take this little box and this is the spider bracket and the little Torx nut that goes in there. And then these are all in order. As I took them off, I labeled them and then stuck them all in order in this box. As long as I don't throw this around and mess it up, when I put things back in, I can just pull this out. This goes on first. Oh, and then this is the next one in line that goes next, and then this one. The other thing you can do is number them and put parts and bolts and label in Ziploc baggies and label them. So it would be like one, you know, whatever that is, the first one, and like alternator bolts or something, and put alternator on it, and then number one, and then number two, you know, the next thing. And then when you go to put things back in, you don't even have to worry about what order to try to remember all that stuff. All you got to do is work backwards from your numbers, and everything will fall right in place. So it makes things way quicker, way faster. Even for experienced mechanics, doing something like that can help tremendously in speeding your reassembly. So I hope that little tip helps people too. And this is one of the drain plugs. I got the other one in a baggie already. I'm going to clean them up. And you want to reseal them when you put them back in. I guess they're supposed to actually be tapered, but I don't know, it doesn't look like it to me. Maybe not on this engine, the 4.3 Chevy Vortec V6. But I'm going to clean these up really good before I put them back in there. And these are 9/16 or 14 millimeter. I actually used a 14 millimeter on it because it fits a little bit snugger on the bolt, and these puppies are in there pretty tight. So again, I shot them with BB blaster, let it sit for a while. Did that a couple times, and the driver's side actually came out, you know, a little bit easier than the passenger side, but there you go. So I hope this information helps somebody with a 4.3 liter Chevy motor.